Hi cuties! It's been a while since I've done like a vlog video, so if you've been watching my latest videos, you know the reason why I haven't updated a whole lot. So I didn't have time to review the March of the Indies, but now that time has come. If you don't know what March of the Indies was, I took every self-published and indie published book off of my shelf and read them for the month of March. That's all these babies right here. I'm not gonna give them star ratings because I'm kind of over star ratings, but I am gonna tell you what I liked and didn't like about each book, and I'm gonna show them to you in my order of my least favorite to my most favorite. And in these 9 books, there was a good mix. There were some that I'm just like, I hate this, and others that I'm like, this is amazing, why isn't this bigger? Disclaimer, all of these opinions are just my personal one. I am not saying that I'm a great writer and that my self-published books are completely flawless. Trust me, I know there's flaws in them. I know it better than anyone. But as a person who reads a lot of books, who has a degree in linguistics, these are just my opinions. Other people may like these books, but I hope all these authors, me included, can look back on our work, see the mistakes, and grow from them. So the first book has 2 books in the series so far. The Elixir War by Morgana Adams Holmes, or Margina, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. It's the Elixir War and the Elixir Deception. Here's the thing about these books. I never, ever DNF a book. I have DNF series before. Enclave, I'm looking at you. But I never DNF a book because I always feel like I should get through. Maybe it gets better. This was the first book I DNF'd. I didn't go on to the sequel, and I made it about halfway through this before I absolutely couldn't do it anymore. I was sad because the concept of this book was very interesting. It was very Star Wars-y, but it had a new take on it. But I immediately hated the main character. Very Han Solo-y, but in the worst way. He has a fiance. Now he has to go seduce the daughter of the Darth Vader character who he once had a fling with many years ago, but they got caught. And now they can't be together. And that daughter's still hopelessly in love with him. And he's just going there to try to get secrets out of her. And he tells his fiance, but it's totally fine that he's cheating on her basically to get information. The biggest problem about this book is that it seems like erotica fiction trying to be sci-fi. Every time the main guy has sex, and he has a lot, there's so much detail, but then there's no real detail to the rest of the book. It only gets really detail-y during those scenes. And that is just, it's bad. I didn't like it, and I'm sorry I have to bash a book like this. If you're into erotica fiction, maybe you'll like it, but I didn't. So the next book that I really didn't like, but I finished, all the rest of these I finished, was Winter Awakening by Dana Bell. First off, I don't like this cover. I feel bad, but it kind of looks like a middle schooler drew it. This isn't one of my judge a book by a cover videos. This is, let's judge the book. This one had an interesting concept. It's a post-apocalyptic world told from the perspective of a cat who meets a dog, who might be a wolf. I'm not sure, but I think it's just a dog. The cat is intelligent and learns how to read and gains wives and other cats. It started out interesting, but it lost me in the middle because Word Warrior, who's the cat, has so many wives and so many children that for pages and pages, it's just talking about how many children. And then other names of other cats will come in and it gets very confusing. There's just too many cats. And this is coming from someone who knows all the names of all the cats in the musical Cats. When you have too many cats for me, that's a problem. I just didn't really get the full plot. Like it started with something and then it just went away. I didn't get the point of the book. So it started good. Maybe somebody else who has read this can explain a little better. I mean, thinking back, because this is so long ago, I'm making this video several months later. All I can remember was that there were too many cats, and I remember the beginning of the book. Next up, we have another book 1 and 2 of a series that's still ongoing, I believe. And that is A New Awakening and A New Zephyr. I didn't hate these books, but they kind of fell in the middle. The biggest issue that I saw with them was they felt like a first draft. There were a lot of mistakes, and I'm not gonna hinder on anyone for having mistakes in books because even traditionally published ones can have mistakes, but there was an overwhelming amount of them. There was too much unload for camp, sleep, wake up, walk. Unload for camp, sleep, walk. At times I felt like I was reading the same scene over and over again. There's a really good plot in here. I am still intrigued by the characters that David Munson has brought to life. I still want to know where their journey's gonna go. I feel like this could have been 1 book instead of 2 because where it ended didn't make sense to me. It didn't seem to follow a full arc. I feel like they could have been put together and edited down. The other thing is the interior of it. It has very large text and it's not blocked. It's scattered, which is not something I like. I don't have a problem with books made with large print for people who need them, but it didn't seem like that was what this was, because this is still, I think, smaller print than large print. It honestly, sadly feels like it was made to be larger so that it would be a bigger book, which I don't know if that's true. Could have just been how he wanted to do it. It just overall felt like a first draft. So if it was edited a bit more and maybe put together in one, this would have been a lot higher on my list. So remember that cover art of the last two books? They were done by the author of the next book, which is Nether After by Jodi L. Cox. And this is a diesel punk book. Very interesting because I don't know much about diesel punk. I barely know the aesthetic. And I feel like at points that imagery could have been presented better, but I don't even know how to do it. So I'm not even gonna judge on that because I want to write a solar punk book, but I have no idea how to go about doing that. I give Jodi props on taking on a different, an uncommon genre of book. I really liked the story for this. I thought her character was interesting, if not a little bit Mary Sue-ish, and he kind of is a natural at a lot of things. I didn't really see him falter too much. Maybe in the next book there'll be more of that. It involves necromancy. And the one thing that I personally, this is just a personal thing that I really didn't like, was the word necromancy appearing so often. Because the main character doesn't have magic. He says this is he uses his necromancy. My necromancy flows out, my necromancy does this, and it just felt like I need a different word for what's going on. He's supposed to be 14, I think, and he felt like he was an older character to me, but what do I know about 14-year-old boys? Hopefully nothing. Do really enjoy her cover art, her aesthetic. I've seen her on Facebook planning new covers, and I'm like, yes, I'm loving this color scheme. Like the New Awakening series, there's no blocking of the text. It's all still done in like left, which could just be a style thing. I do love the chapter headers. I thought that font is really cool and I like it. I think I will be picking up book 2 of this when it comes out because I did enjoy the plot of it. I just think, again, I felt like I was reading a bit of a first draft, but still interesting enough to get me to want to read the second book. And the last of the kind of in the middle sphere is an anthology, and that is Ghost Hunting Critters, which was also done by the Midnight Writers, who I also read their Domesticated Velociraptors last year, 2 years ago, I think last year. And this one's all about animals and ghosts, so sign me up. I like some of these. One really good thing is there's this border collie, I think his name is Brown, and he's kind of appears in another story written by a different person. So, you know, there was like, you know, camaraderie happening in the making of this anthology, which I thought was really cool. Some of the stories were good, some of the stories were meh. It didn't get me as much as Domesticated Velociraptors did, which is why this kind of fell a little bit flatter, but still a fun, spoopy read. And now, my top 3 books from March of the Indies. The first of which is Soul of the Unborn by Natalia Brothers. This one is very spoopy. It's set in a little Russian town. It kept me on my toes. You didn't quite understand what was happening until it was over. I thought that was really intriguing. Like the main character, who's this woman, there's a couple main characters, but the woman on the cover, I assume, her name is Valia. She runs this little tour thing, and it's just so interesting with her motivation and the motivations of the tourists. I can't even really explain it well because it's just something you have to experience. And I'm still not sure what was going on. I know there's probably going to be another book in the series, and I'm definitely gonna get it. If you're into creepy or somewhat surreal books, I highly recommend picking this one up. The next book was one from a fellow Coloradan author set in Colorado, is Apparent Power by Dacia M. Arnold. I think it's Dacia. This book is so interesting. The concept is so crazy. It starts with a woman who is a nurse. She's going to cover a shift really far away in Colorado. I can't remember where she was at. A worldwide catastrophe strike. So some people have it in their blood to survive this, and it was all done with electricity, hence the bulb on the front. She's separated from her son and her husband, and she's trying to get back to them. But she doesn't realize that she is a bigger part of what has happened, and so other people are trying to find her. It is a crazy ride. It definitely is having a sequel. I'm mad that I didn't grab her other book, which is a novella of the same universe. I really should have done it because I want to read it now, but I'm sure I will see her at another con to go find and get it. And finally, the #1 book of March of the Indies is Seventh Daughter by Ronnie Seagren. The weird thing about this is that the same company that published this book published this one, and yet they're on really far spectrum. This book is so fun. I want it to be a movie so bad. It feels like one of the older movies that take place in a jungle, but it takes place in South America, in the mountains, and it's not witchy, but it is witchy, and it's very dreamlike. The concept of the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter Born Under Eclipse is just so cool. There's adventure, there's murder, there's evil twins, there's so much going on. And it says that there's supposed to be a second one already out. Well, I can't find it anywhere. That one's supposed to be Seventh Son, and I'm like, I need to find this. Where's Seventh Son? Why isn't it not out? Because I want to know it. But it's so interesting. It twists you in ways you don't normally think it's going to twist you, and it just like, blah, it goes crazy, and I love it. Sorry, I'm not good at describing things that I love, because I get a little hyper about them, but I really like this book. And that was March of the Indies. I will not be doing one for April, because I didn't read anything in April. I was writing and remodeling. So the next review will be of the May books that I've read. If you guys have any further questions or comments, you can post them down below, or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter, and I'll see you next time, cuties. Bye!